Okay, so I'm going to back up just a second because I forgot to hit record. So, what we've done so far is we've painted this with an antique white, and it's just a deco art craft paint, nothing special, and I've just kind of, it's not dry brush, but it's not soaking wet because I wanted some of that newspaper to show through. So that's what we've got so far. Alright, so the next step is we're going to distress our white leaves. Okay, so I am going to use a couple of colors. I've got old paper and I've got this honey color, and that's what I'm going to use. So I'm going to start out and I'm just going to do direct to it. So I'm just going to rub it on periodically. I'm not going to cover it really a lot, but you know, because I want the other color on there too. But I'm just rubbing it on direct to the stuff. Okay, then I'm going to kind of turn it over and, you know, hit here and there on the other side too, because you want both sides, because when you put it on and you may not, you know, it may twist on you, and so you want it to be completely covered. Alright, so we've got that color on. This is the wild honey, and I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm just trying to get a variegated color so it's not all one tone. Okay, so I think that's enough on that side. And flip it over. Okay, and now you can see we've got variegated tones on our leaves. And that's so simple. So we're going to set the leaves aside for right now. And let's go back to our dress form. Okay. Now, when you cover your dress form, you want to start in the middle. So you need to decide which paper you want for the bottom, the top, the middle, that kind of thing. So I'm pretty sure that I want this one for the top. Let's see, let's lay it on here and see. Yeah, I want that one for the top, so I'm going to set that aside. And for the bottom, I'm going to use, where did it go? I'm going to use this one in the middle, sorry. No, on the bottom I'm going to use this one, and in the middle I'm going to use this one. So I've got one of each of those sheets, but you could just use, you know, you could do it all the same. You've got plenty of paper of each kind to do just one. I'm not really big on floral, but you could, like I said, you could use the floral on the back of one of these if you wanted. No, you haven't missed a whole lot, Itza. Okay, so I'm going to grab my cutter. There's never enough room. No matter how big your desk is, there's never enough room. Does anybody else have that problem? Okay, and the first thing I'm going to do is just cut off these edges. Since I'm starting with the middle, I want that piece to be 4 inches wide. And I'm going to go with this one. So, oops, slide back over there. I need it 4 inches, so I'm going to measure 4-inch piece and cut that. Alright, I'm going to set that aside because I won't need the rest of that for this project, and I'll have plenty left. So I am going to go ahead and cut all my pieces just so I can get this out of the way. So this is my top piece, and I need that to be between 2.5 and 3 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and do 3 just to be on the safe side. It's better to have it too long. I can always cut it off. Okay. That's the top. And then for the bottom, you need that to be 4.5 inches wide. So I'm going to go here And do I want that part, or do I think I want this part? So I'm going to go this way. Go 4.5 inches. So because this top of this dress form is here, I'm actually going to cut it a little bit higher and then cut off some at the bottom. I'd rather do that. So I'm going to cut across here and then turn it around and do my 4.5 inches this way. There we go. All right, so now I can set my cutter aside. All right, so for the middle piece, you're going to be splaying and cutting, so you're going to have to cut out part of this. So you're going to need scissors, and you're going to need either Mod Podge, or I am using this soft gel medium, and this is just in the mat. What we're going to do is start by just making some little cuts in the paper. You don't want to go too high because you're not sure at this point how much you're going to splay. So I do them about 1 inch apart, and you may have to go in and cut them closer later, but we're going to start with that. Okay. And we're going to do the same on the other side. All right, and then we're going to press it into the belly, and that's where we want to start, because like I said, we're going to cut this part out, but we have to have a starting point. So you want to find your center and stick it right to the middle of the belly right here, and you're just going to put a little bit of the medium on so it'll stick, and it sticks pretty fast. And put that right over the belly and hold it for just a second. Okay, and we'll come back and cut this later on. And try to get it, you know, as straight as you can. It's not going to be perfect because the dress form isn't probably perfect, but okay. And now because you've got these splays, it's going to wrinkle a little bit, and like I said, you may have to go in and cut further in order to make it lay, because the waist is way smaller than the rest of the dress form. Okay, and I'm just going to put some more medium on and just keep wrapping and adjusting my cuts. So I'm just putting a bunch of the stuff on of the medium. Okay, and I'm okay with it bunching a little bit, and even if it rips a little bit, because we're going to cover the splayed areas up with the other papers. Okay, so my point right now is just to get that middle section attached. Okay, I'm going to move to the other side. And it, you know, you have to keep manipulating it till it dries, because it's not instant dry. And again, putting more of the medium on. Okay, working it in. We'll go over it again at the end. We've already gone over it at the beginning, but you're getting 6 pieces of fab scrap paper, some laces, some seam bindings, some metal pieces, a pearl necklace, the pre-cut but not pre-rolled dress form, some chipboard pieces, and some baker's twine. So you'll see, I'll show you everything at the end. Okay, so I'm really pushing this down in there, making sure that it stays on. The kit will be available starting tomorrow. I just wanted to get both projects done so I'd have pictures of both colors to put it up. So it will be available tomorrow because I'll have to wait until it's light out to take decent pictures. Okay, now while that is drying, I'm going to bend these back. And I'm going to attach my top lace now. And like I said, these are going to splay, and you may cut them shorter as you're going. But we'll see. Okay, so just bending them back. Obviously, they're not going to stick out like that. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, and you could do this first if you wanted. I just wanted to get this on so it could start drying. And actually, it's coming loose over here, so I'm going to put a little more on. You got to put quite a generous amount of this gel on to make it stick really good. Just a tad more over here too. Okay, there we go. So now we have the waist. Okay, so while that's drying, okay, you are not going to need the whole yard of this, like I said. So we're going to put this lace across the breast area, and we're going to bring it around the back and measure about where we need to cut. And of course it's slippery and not wanting to stay, so we're about right there. So I'm going to cut that off, and if I'm over by a little bit, that's all right. I can always cut it off. Okay, so I still have plenty of lace left for another project. Actually, you have almost enough for 2 of these dress forms, except for you won't have the metal pieces or the dress form itself, but you have enough of the papers and the laces to do 2 of these. Okay, this is being really stubborn. I'm going to go ahead and close this up in the back here. But first, let's see, find the right side. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and bring this around and glue that in the center. Ooh, I cut that just about perfect. Yay me. Okay, and you might need to add just a little bit more to seal it down there. Okay, and then bring your paper and close that up. Okay, now you see why this takes a 2-part class to do this, because there's a lot of wait time in between while we're drying. Okay, now I'm going to bring it around back around the front so I can adjust this, and I'm just going to pull it down to where those flayed areas are. And you may have to make a little tuck in the bust. Okay, and these are going to end up being a little long, so I'm going to cut them off, and because I still want my top paper on there. But it's always better to start with too much and cut off than too little and be sorry. Okay, so I've got all my little pieces here. And you could save these if you wanted to and use them on inchies or something like that. Or if you're like me and have 10 million scraps, then you probably won't save them. You'll just throw them. Okay, so just tucked back down, and I'm going to secure this now by putting some along the bottom and tucking that in. Like I said, you'll need to make a pleat in the bust area. paper over that to hold it. There we go. Okay, scoot that down, make another pleat in the bust area. Get my papers up over that. Okay, then once you've done that, you can put your other splayed pieces down. Okay, you just want to hold them for a second or two so that they stick well. And if not, you can always add more of the medium. Yeah, most of mine do too if they're bigger pieces, but those tiny little ones, I have so many. I just got tired of keeping them. Okay, who asked about a glue gun? Yeah, I don't use a glue gun. Heat gun, no, I would not use a heat gun because of the type of fabric that it is. It would, you're risking melting it if you do that. So no, I would not do that. And yes, I hate glue guns with a passion. I use them only when I have to, and you'll see me use it here tonight. But it is not something that I really enjoy using. I don't think that they last and hold well. And I'm going to actually cut this piece off further down because I want that lace to show in the back. They don't hold as well over time. And because it becomes brittle and it breaks apart. So I always use liquid glue if possible. But in this case, you're going to have more control with this Mod Podge or matte medium than you would anyway. So there's a little piece there that I don't like. Okay, so we've got that mostly on. Stretch that, hold that for a minute. Get this down better. Plus, when you use glue guns, you get lumps. That's another reason I don't like them. And so I tend to use liquid glue instead. Jess, if you're using Chrome and you go to your apps, your Chrome apps, there's a little on the left hand side of your screen at the very top where the search bar is, there's a little thing that says apps, and download Ad Blocker Plus, and then you will not get them. Okay, so that's what we have so far. Now I'm going to go in here and I'm going to just cut across the belly, and that will actually get covered with our other paper, so that's why I'm cutting that out, because I don't want it hanging over. All right, and now I can go in and just put a little bit on here and stick those down. Okay, and this is why you do the middle first, because you get these wide splay areas, and so it doesn't come out real nice and neat. But once you move to your other paper, it will come out a lot neater. because you're stopping at the waistline. Okay, that one's down. I just didn't get enough right there. Get this one a little bit better. So we have that on. I'm going to wipe my hands real quick because that stuff gets really sticky and I don't want it to transfer onto the other pages. All right, so now we're going to do the upper bust area, and that's your smaller piece, which is about 2.5 inches. Okay, now we're going to go just under where the printing on the lace starts, but first I want to give it a little bit of shape. So what I'm going to do is go in, and I'm just going to round it some. Okay, so my center, I find my center is right there, and I'm just rounding it just a bit. Okay, and I'm just going to kind of fold it in half so I can get the same shape. Okay, and it's definitely not going to be perfect cuts because I'm doing it by hand with the scissors, but that's why I fold it like that, because it does help. Okay, so there's what I've got, and now I'm going to go in and distress that. Let me see, where is my, there it is. Okay, so I just got one of these little daubers, and I'm going to use, where's my other distress ink? There it is. For this, I'm going to use the walnut because I'm going to be using some brown, so I'm going to use the walnut. And all you're going to do, start off your paper and just start going around the edges like this in a circular motion, and you can do as much or as little as you want. Oops, wrong one. Okay, so all we're doing is just giving this a little definition, and I'm going to do that on the sides too. Not sure how much of that will show because if I put another piece on, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. Okay, so I think that's good. I've just got a light definition on there. And that will just make the lace stand out a little bit more. That's the reason that I'm doing that. Okay. All right, so we're going to, again, start in the middle. And this time we're up higher. So we're going to start right here and glue that down. So right across the center, right here, we're putting some of the medium. And we're going to glue that right down. Okay, now you're not splaying in the center. This is where you're going to do it in parts. So you just glue this down first and then we'll splay after that. Okay, so that's stuck pretty good. She's got wings. And I'm going to wrap this around this way. And you see I'm up to the top. So what I'm going to do instead is pull this down slightly so that it comes at an angle. All right, and then I'm going to attach here. Okay, I'm going to turn it over Do the same thing. I'm going to pull it down slightly at an angle and glue this down. We're just going to hang. So now we're going to come around to the front, and you see you've got these big gaps here. So that's when we have to start cutting. And we're just going to go in and make little cuts, just little slits, about every ½ inch maybe. Okay, and that's not quite enough, so you just got to play with this. This is the part that you just got to play with to work around her breasts. Just pretend you're a guy and you're feeling her up. There we go. Okay. I think I got those pretty good. All right, so now we're going to start at the center and work this way because we want to end up with the pleat right over the side of the breast. Okay. So glue, whoops, too much. Glue these down first, and you're going to push to the sides just a little bit because you still want it to connect as much as possible on the front so you don't have a big gap. Okay, can you see how I did that? They're real close together here. And bring it up closer. Okay, so your pieces are close together but pushed down. Okay, and your pleat is going to end up over here. All right, and I still don't have that cut quite enough. Okay, there we go. And now I'm going to go put this one under and start my pleat. Okay, so then you end up with a pleat. Okay, pushing these down. Oop, got way too much on there. The reason that I use matte is because when it dries, it won't show if it, you know, if I goof like that. Just for an FYI for you, you can use whatever you want, but that's why I do. Okay, and then I'm going around here and getting these pressed in tight because you want it, you know, pretty nice and tight around her waist. All right, now we're going to do the same to the other side. Got that one down. Okay, this is where I want the pleat, so I'm going to push that down and push that one over it. So I'm getting the pleat at the point of the breast and that one over it. Okay, I'm going to get that cut quite enough. Let me go up a little bit higher. Once that gel is on, it's hard to cut, so just be forewarned. Okay. All right, we can move on to these other ones. Get those glued down. And how are we on time? Where are we at? 8 o'clock. Oh, that's not bad. We're at an hour. I figured each class would be about an hour and a half, so we're pretty close on schedule. All right, so there is that, and that one's not wanting to stay down, so let me put a little bit more. medium on there. Same with this corner. Okay, let me turn it around so you can see. And there we have our breast lines. Okay, they're not perfect, but when you're working with paper, it's really hard to get it to be perfect. Okay. So now we have to deal with this back, and we have this gap right here. So I'm going to take the paper, if I can find it. Which one was it? Yeah, it was this one. Okay, I'm going to take this paper and cut a little bit more. And let's see, I'm going to measure to make sure I get it the correct width now. So we are at we want to go from here to where the bottom waistline is, and that's 2 inches. So I need a 2-inch strip to put across there. Okay, you want to make sure your paper is facing the same direction. So there's my 2-inch strip, and obviously I'm not going to need that whole bit, but I will measure and cut. So I'm going to take it and just kind of hold it like this and go across. So about right. About that much right there. All right. So I need that much, which is how much? Because I actually like the other side better. That's about 5 inches. So I'll cut 5 inches from the other side. So 5 inches. Okay, this back out of the way. Okay, what you making, Jess? All right, now this one you're probably not going to have to splay because you're just going to go across here, but you still want to distress it. So we're going to go back with our distress across the top so that it blends. And just put a little around it. Okay, that done. And now we can attach it. So I'm just going to run some of this across it. Now, if you wanted it backless, obviously you would just measure to this point when you're cutting. So you could have a backless dress on it. Okay, and I'm just kind of pushing it down into the gel medium. Always start in the center. Ooh, yum. So when you're working on these dress forms, remember, you're always going to start from your center point out and work to the sides. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit under here where I didn't get it. A little bit under here. There we go. Okay, now that is not even, so I'm going to actually go in and cut that a little bit because I don't like it. That's just me. I'm sometimes a perfectionist to my own detriment. just be careful when you do stuff like this that you don't cut your lace. Just really go slow and careful. Okay. All right, that's a little better. And now I need to just take my Distress ink and just dab it, and be careful again that you don't get much on the lace. Try to avoid that, but you want to cover that cut mark up. All right, so that's what we have so far. Let's get this back out now. Okay, now I'm just kind of making sure that these rolls stretch back out, because when you're working on the back, obviously you're pushing down on them. All right, so I cut the wrong piece for the 2 pieces. I did not need that. But I am going to need 2 of this one. But I'm going to start by attaching this, and we're going to start right over the edge of your first paper, but right in the center where the seam starts, or I mean the open cut part starts. Okay, and we're just going to put that in. Okay, and you're going to have to hold that for a second till it dries. And your paper is going to actually come around and attach to this. And I was not measuring right, because I'm off by about 2 inches. So I'll have to remeasure this and give you guys the measurements. I did these measurements the other night, like at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I just totally screwed it up. So. Okay, so once you have that on there, go ahead and put this edge in there, because after that we're going to have to start splaying, so we want it to dry. Oh, you know what? I forgot to distress this. I'm going to take it off real quick. Forgot to distress this. I want this distressed along here again. So just doing the top area. And it may not end up even showing because of the seam binding, but I want to make sure that it, you know, doesn't blend into the other paper too much. So let's go ahead and reattach that. There we go. If you do it quickly enough, you can get it back off and on. Okay guys, gotta let that dry for just a second before we move on. Alright, I think that's probably dried enough. So, like I said, I made a mistake in my measuring, because at 1 o'clock in the morning when you're half delirious is not the time to be making your measurements, but it's what time I had. So, alright. So now we're going to start cutting, and you just want tiny cuts on this, like less than a ½ inch, and about every ½ inch to quarter, you know, quarter to ½ inch around it. So just go all the way around your paper. And if you need to make them longer later, you can. But for right now, we're just making short, small cuts because we don't want these to show. Okay, so we've got those. And we're just going to slowly start working the top. And okay, so we're going to put some medium on, lay it back down. Okay, and just move your paper with your cuts so that, you know, if you have to overlap slightly. And you will get little darts like looking in it, but that's why you need the splayed areas. Okay, and move a little bit further. And again, we're just going to make the little, like darts, laying on her waist, like you would if you were sewing clothes, except you're using paper. Okay, and then just kind of, you know, push them down onto it. Okay, a little bit further again. Now, as you see, most of your middle paper is getting covered up except right in the center of the front and a little bit on the sides. Pretty sure she was joking there, Jeannie. Sorry, that was my husband's phone. Okay, and moving on, and I'm going to stop in the center because I have to do the other side too. Okay, getting this smoothed down. And I'm going to cut this about where I need it to be. So, looks like about right here. It's pretty close. I'm going to go over just a little bit so I can overlap and make sure that I don't have any areas showing. So I'm making it just slightly past the middle. Okay, go ahead and finish pleating this out. Oh, we got lots of fall birthdays. And you're also young. $25 plus shipping and handling. Hey, that's a good one. Can I be 29 and with shipping plus shipping and handling? Because I'm way older than all of you guys. Okay. All right, so now we have this first half on, and that's what we have so far. Okay, doesn't look like much. I know it looks kind of crappy right now, but it gets better. Okay, so I'm going to cut another piece, and I'm going to stick with that same width since I already started with that, and then I'll go in and put something else down here. So we did, I believe it was 4.5 inches, but I just want to double check. Yes. Okay. All right. So find my paper. Was this the one? No. It was. This one. Okay. So where did my other half of that one go, though? It's on the back of it. Flowers, flowers, flowers. There it is. Okay. And cut my piece for the second side. And when you buy this, you'll have measurements included in the package, and they'll be more accurate. And I apologize for not having them accurate tonight. Like I said, I was doing this on, was it last night? No, it was the night before at 1 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so I'm cutting that 4.5 inches. That is absolutely the truth, Sophie. I agree. Plus, like I tell my kids, you don't get older, you get wiser. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and distress this piece real quick. Just along the top. Alrighty, got that done. And now we're just going to do the reverse process. Oops, this front center part is coming apart, and it's actually not the paper that's not sticking, it's the newspaper that is not sticking together. Because we've manipulated it so much, it was coming apart. And you could glue these pieces back down, but I like that rough look, so I left mine. I am going to glue this a little bit though right here. And actually I'll just do that right now, since I'm thinking about it. And that just happens in the process of the rolling. When it arrives to you, it will just be cut. It'll all still be solid. There won't be any frays. If you don't want it cut, you can certainly leave me a note saying you don't want to. All right, so we're going to repeat the process by starting in the center here. Okay, and I'm just going to hold that for a second till it gets on. Okay, go ahead and glue this part down. So we want that to match up to the edge. Your edge is the most important. Yes, the dress form is paper mache. All right, I'm going to turn this around so I can see what I'm doing while I work. And actually, that is not quite dry, so I'm going to have to hold that for a second. Let's see, can I get a clip on there maybe? There we go, that'll hold it. Okay, baby paper clips are really good and handy. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this, like I said before, about every inch or so, or I mean quarter inch or so, and just down about a quarter to a half inch. All right, and I think this time I'm going to go ahead and attach it right where the seam is, right here, so that I get it fairly even. So let me cut this off and finish splaying this a bit. Okay, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to line it up with my back centerpiece and get that on there first. And then go in back in and work the waist. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry for just a second. Okay, so I think that's enough. So now I can go in and start attaching here. And again, you're just going to start pleating as you're going. So one tab down and pleat over it with the other, like that. So you're just pushing it over to the side of it. And that makes your paper lay flush against your paper mache. Okay, and then just hold the pleat for a second for it to dry. And then you can move on to the next one. And you don't want to do it every single tab, about every 2 or 3. But you have to do it so, you know, so it adjusts for your, however wide you cut your slits. Okay, I'm going to take my brush and go down inside here a little bit so I get a little bit of attachment on the inner part too. Okay, pleat again. Okay, and now I need to pleat a little bit heavier because I'm getting to the back and I'm getting lots of paper left, so I need to pleat a little bit heavier. I'm going to pleat about every other one now. Okay, that one didn't go on straight. Let's pull it up. There we go. And actually, I'm going to use my dowel to lift that up a bit so it can pleat better. There we go, another nice pleat. You want your pleats to be kind of smooth. Lift that up again. In another area, get another nice pleat. And the last little bit here. Push that down. Get one more pleat in there. Okay, so that's attached. And if I had measured the paper right, this would be where we would be stopping, but I didn't. So we're going to continue. And I'm going to test a couple of things. But first I want to wash my hands. So give me a second. All right, so next thing we want to do is distress our edges of our dress right here. And the reason I didn't do it on the paper first was because I also wanted to do the edge of my paper mache. So I'm just dabbing it on. Just distressing like you would anything else, just a little bit. And on the paint area, I'm going to rub that out because I don't want it quite that dark. Okay, and I'm going to go on the edge down here too. Okay, so that's what we, can you see that? So that looks like that. And it just adds a little bit of the, you know, aged look to it. And I'm just going to keep bending this to get it where I want it to be. Because every time you wet this, it's going to change the shape, and you have to just keep working it, manipulating it, so it's where you want it to be. Okay, going to do the same thing on this side. And if your pieces are apart like this, you might want to just spread it a little more and, you know, distress that a little bit. There we go. Okay, I'm also going to do across the bottom here, but first I want to reshape this. We want that wide for our shadow box. Ooh, speaking of bugs, there's a little anty thing. It's not really an ant. I don't know what it was. There are some weird bugs here in Florida, let me tell you. I've never seen bugs like I've seen here. Okay, now since I'm going to go ahead and go all the way around the bottom here. Even if I had put paper on, I would be doing that because I would want the edge of the paper distressed too. So just putting it on and kind of rubbing it with my fingers. Again, that just gives it that, you know, aged look, and that's what we're going for. All right. Okay, so I think we've got all the distressing done. Now, let's decide, do we put more paper on or do we use the lace? Let me find the rest of the lace. Here it is. I'm thinking that that looks really good, but I think I'm going to have to maybe fold it in half because I want the density a little thicker and I don't want it way up over the edge. So do I have enough? I do. All right, so let's go ahead and attach that. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this in half. Not exactly half because you don't want the rough edge to show underneath this lace, but you know, you get the idea. All right, so I'm going to, whoops, pull this back a bit. And I'm going to go just barely over the edge of the paper. Okay, and I'm going to clip that on so that I can keep working. Get a bigger clip this time. Okay, and that way I can just keep rolling. Don't go anywhere though, because we're almost to the end of tonight, and then we're going to, at the end, we'll go over everything that's in the kit again. Okay, and this is one of those projects that you have to have patience with, because you do have to hold it while it dries. You can't be in a big hurry. Yep, it's every other week, Rhonda, and then I, on Tuesdays. Um, the schedule is always posted and pinned to the top of the GA page. All right, so I'm going to let this last little bit just dry on here before I try to cut it off. So I will cut it off before the next class. Roll this back out. But here's what we have. That's what we have so far. And in 2 weeks, we have the fun part of decorating. Party while Deb is away. I told you I'm not actually going to be away. I'll be checking in. I'll be here. I'll have a computer. I just won't have a camera set up. So, Mickey, you have to behave. I will still be here. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside now. And we're going to go over again what you get in the kits. Let me get this into water. And wipe the edge of my gel off, because I always make a mess when I'm working. Sorry, I don't want it to seal itself shut, so I got to get this edge cleaned off. Alrighty. Okay, so since I forgot to hit record, let's go over this one more time, what you get in the kit. For those of you that weren't here earlier, I'll show you this at the end. The champagne kit comes with, there it is over here. Okay, the champagne kit comes with 3 chipboard piece sets. Right here we got the cotton spools, okay, and you'll only actually use one, so you'll have some left over. You will get the sewing machine. Here we go, this way. I'm backwards now again because I had it the other way last time. The sewing machine, and this is all for the inside of your shadow box. And then you will get the mannequin and dress and scissors. We are not going to use the mannequin because, as you can see, compared to the sewing machine, it's not to scale. So we're using the scissors, the cotton reel, and the sewing machine. So you will still have a mannequin for another project. You will get 2.5 yards, and this is just my leftovers, but you will get 2.5 yards of this it's called mushroom seam binding. It's kind of a champagne grayish tan color. You'll get 2.5 yards of the brown seam binding. You will get the yellowish champagne colored lace, just like the blue that we used on this project, except it's the golden champagne color. And then you will get, and again, this is just my leftovers, you will get a yard of this pre-dyed champagne colored elegant long dankle lace. So you'll get a yard of that, and it will already be dyed for you and ready to go. You'll get a preformed necklace for your dress form. This one is mostly champagne colored with a little bit of brown because your papers do have brown in them. If you want a choker type necklace, all you have to do is take it apart. It's not a big deal, and reattach. Okay, then, oh, and you get, I've already colored these for tonight, but these were originally white, and you'll get a 1/2 yard of the, sorry, I think it's a 1/2 yard. It might be a yard. I can't remember right now. Of the white Mayart sleeves. Okay, then you'll also get, this is like one of my favorite pieces. It's and if I can get it in focus, it's the vintage, come on. There we go. The vintage metal embellishment, vintage style. It's not actually vintage, it's just vintage style, but it's beautiful. Okay, and then you will get this little round metal one. As well. Okay. And then you'll get 6 sheets of paper. Oh, and you also get, sorry, a yard of the black and white baker's twine to wrap around your spool, your cotton spool. You'll get 6 pieces of paper, and these are all fab scrap papers, and these are designed with the sewing motif in mind. I've got them upside down. Okay, so you'll get the one that's just plain patterns. Let's see if I can lift that up. There we go. Just plain patterns, and I'll show you the backs in a second. And then this one, which is one of my absolute favorites, it's the vintage sewing, and that beautiful gold dress on there, and those scissors, the crane scissors. It's beautiful. Or can you see it a little better? Okay. And then this one I really love too, and it's vintage corsets across here, and then you've got like billing ladles and, you know, just different writing from different old-fashioned manufacturers. Okay, so those are the 6 pieces, and I'll show you the backs. So if you like floral and you want a floral pattern on your dress, you've got this. And on the champagne one, it's like a champagne color and a, like, I wouldn't really call it red, but it's kind of in between a red and a burgundy. It's not really either one, but with the champagne it looks really good. So you can see that it just really blends. Okay, and then on this page you've got the stitches, all the different stitches. And then this page you have lots of fun buttons. There we go. Okay, so those are the 6 pieces in the champagne set. So, like I said, this is not a full kit because I've used part of it on mine, except I got new papers out for it so I could show you. But you'll have plenty of things. I didn't even use 3 whole sheets of paper on this so far. I used like a quarter of one, a quarter of another, and well, no, I would say I used half of one, half of another, and a quarter of the middle part. So you'll have plenty of paper left over for other projects. You'll have extra chipboard pieces. You'll have scraps like this that you can use to make cards afterwards. You know, the little pieces I threw away, but this size I keep. And then you'll have extra of all of this too. Okay, so that is the champagne set. I need that. it go? Oh, there it is. Okay, so for the blue set, you've seen me work with it tonight. You have the vintage ladies, and that is what I used at the waist, but you could use this, you know, for your upper bust or the lower part, whatever you like. Just mix and match it however it feels good to you. Okay, and then you get this piece, which I love. It's got the old-fashioned coats, and it's got some receipts and measuring, you know, the things that they used to measure with, so when they were tailoring. And then you get this one, which is my other really favorite one. And it's all the different dress forms. And if you'll notice, this one right here matches this dress form. Whoops, got it backwards. It matches that dress form. So if you wanted to, you know, use the upper half and use this lower half on another project with this, it works out perfectly. Okay. Now the backs of this, you have rulers, and you have the compass area. You have a beautiful bluish gray with lavender floral. And then you have this wavy stripe one with the lavender stripes and the blue-gray background. Okay. Then you have, of course, this blue lace, which I've used all on this, so I can't show it to you separate, but you get a yard of that. And if you do it like this, you'll use the whole yard. On the first one I used paper instead, so I did not use my whole yard. Okay. You'll also get your yard of your twine, baker's twine, your leaves, and then this is pre-dyed as well. Let me lay a piece of paper here so you can see. And it's a beautiful kind of chocolatey golden brown that matches beautifully with the papers. And that will come pre-dyed for you. Okay, and again, you know, like I said, these 3 fab scrap pieces and the same metals. Now, oh, and you'll also get, in this set, you get the blue seam binding, queen blue seam binding, and the Mimi Brown seam binding, and a necklace. Again, it's got the champagne, but on this one, I highlighted it with a little bit more of the brown because we're you know, I was trying to match a little bit more and make it slightly different from the other one. So that is what will come in this kit. All right, so the other thing that you get with both kits, of course, is the dress form itself. And it will arrive to you pre-cut. It will come cut here and cut here. So down the center and across the front. It will not be rolled like this. So I have a separate video which I've done ahead of time because you have to let it dry, and I will give, you know, it will be loaded up. So you'll know how to do that part, but it will arrive to you pre-cut. If you do not want it pre-cut, you need to put that in the comments, and I will make sure I put that in the description box. And the price on it is going to be $57.99, which, trust me, these dress forms themselves sell for almost $30, so it is a good deal, and it's $8 for shipping. All right, so that is all there is for tonight. I hope you will come back in 2 weeks so we can all finish this up together. I hope you love it, and it will go up for sale tomorrow. Okay, so this is the finished champagne one. Okay, I'm going to bring it in closer. So it's got the champagne edging here, and the metal pieces here, your seam binding wrapped around, and I've left little tails, which you wouldn't have to do. Your lace on the bottom, and we'll talk about that. And then inside is your shadow box. And on this one, I chose not to paint it. I just left it with the paper because it went really well with the colors that were here already, so I just did that. Okay, so that is the finished one, and thank you. But I wanted to make sure that I did one in both colors so you would have, you could see a finished product There are only 6 kits available. It is very limited. So if you're interested in them, they'll go up for sale tomorrow, and I'm assuming that they will sell fast because there are only 6. Okay, thanks ladies, and I will see you on Saturday, I hope, at 2 o'clock for Linda's class. All right, that's it. Have a good night, guys.